Alright, the timing of that beep was perfect, actually. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, it's ya boy. I'm back to record another video about the Eagles. So, I'm driving right now, by the way. I'm driving home from work. I don't know why I'm doing this now, but I'm driving home from work. And the camera's sitting like in my cup holder type thing. So, we're just gonna roll with it and see how this goes. Anywho, I'm here to talk about the draft. So I talked about the other day, the whole Devontae Smith thing, which I love it. And I don't know how anybody couldn't love it. So today we're going to sit and talk about the other rounds of the draft, because there's been some... Listen, it was fun while it lasted, right? Eagles Twitter was super chill for like 24 hours, and then it went back to being Eagles Twitter. So, the drama, I'll call it, started right away with the second round pick of Landon Dickerson, who was he's a lineman, but he mostly played at Alabama. He played a lot of center. So, obviously, the big criticism of Landon Dickerson was his injury history. By the way, if you look and see, I'm not wearing a flannel today. Be impressed. Be amazed. So the injury history was the big problem with Landon Dickerson, right? 2 torn ACLs, though not on the same knee, which is, I don't know if you want to call that better or worse. I would almost argue that it would be worse if you had an ACL tear twice on the same knee. I know a couple people that's happened to, actually, that I went to high school with. But he also had, there was a ankle problem in there somewhere, right? But, so the injury history is obviously a concern. Here's the thing. Everybody was shitting on Howie Roseman because, Howie Roseman picked an offensive lineman when we need cornerbacks and linebackers, and what the hell was that noise? And, oh my God, Howie Roseman, not only did he pick a position that we didn't need, he picked a player that's super injury prone. Okay, listen, Philly fans. I understand the first instinct for everything that you do is to shit on Howie Roseman. Hell, I'm surprised there weren't people that somehow found a way to attack Howie Roseman for the Devontae Smith pick. I'm frankly surprised. There were on Twitter, but those are just trolls and they're fucking idiots anyway, so that doesn't really matter. I am very okay with this pick, and anybody who watches this that follows my Twitter will know this, because was it Friday night, right? Yeah. I put out probably 50 tweets Friday night, because that's what I do. I tweet in bulk for whatever reason. Anywho, I like the Landon Dickerson pick, and here's why. He was rated one of, if not the best, interior offensive lineman coming into the draft. The guy is super talented, right? And I understand there's an injury problem, or there has been an injury problem. And I understand why that concerns people. Picking players with injury problems is not outside of the realm of this organization. Look at Sidney Jones. Now, I did not like the Sidney Jones pick. Here's the thing with Landon Dickerson. Jason Kelce's gone in a year. Frankly, I'm surprised he wasn't gone this year. He very openly considered it. And after the dog shit year that Philly had, I probably would have just said fuck it. And I'm surprised Kelce didn't do the same. But Kelsey's one loyal son of a bitch, and I got to give him props for that. He's gone after this year. I really am thinking that. So you're basically drafting a replacement for Jason Kelsey. Now everybody says, "Oh, he's not going to start this year. He's not." What? You drafted a guy who's going to sit on the bench. A, who the fuck cares? And B, he probably will start this year. I would expect him to start somewhere in a guard position over maybe Isaac Seumalo, who's okay. He's not great. He's okay. But I would not be surprised to see Landon Dickerson starting on the interior of that line somewhere, at guard somewhere. And then eventually taking over for Jason Kelsey after he retires. Now, there seems to be this trope on I'm going to say on Twitter, but it's on Facebook and such too, that players drafted in the first and second round, and I've even seen some guys saying players drafted in the first, second, and third rounds, they should be immediate starters. They've always been immediate starters historically, and if you're drafted in the first 3 rounds, you should be drafted as a starter. I don't know what delusions you people have, or what kind of drugs you have been smoking. When is that a thing? How do you see that as a thing? There is not, as talented as the NFL is, as deep as the NFL is, as many talented players as there are currently in the NFL, for there to be 32 picks per round, what's 32 times 3? 60, 90, 96? Quick math, 96? The fact that people actually think, as deep as the modern NFL is, and as talented as the modern NFL is, every single year, 96 new players are going to be instant starters. Day one starters. That's what people are saying. Day one starters. I'm sorry. It's not even. Somebody's doing a news broadcast over there. I'm driving through downtown Gettysburg right now. It's not even that I disagree with people saying that, which I do. I don't even understand how people got that idea in their head. 96 players every year. On average, I know there's trades and teams have multiple picks in one round and some teams don't have any picks in one round. But on average, 3 brand new players start for a team every year. Not brand new, just brand new from the draft. That's not even including free agents. $96 new players every single year. Look at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, they're a rarity. This doesn't happen often. All 22 starting players, 24, 25 if you want to count long snapper, kicker, punter. All of their starters are back. Every single one of them. They just re-signed Antonio Brown. All their starters are back for next year. How do you explain that one in the draft? They're drafting for depth. And that's what a lot of teams do. They draft for depth. And some might argue, oh, well, you're only supposed to draft for depth in rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. No. That's not how that works. The other angle to this, for me, is even if Landon Dickerson doesn't start this year, I still like the pick, and I still don't care. And y'all can suck my dick. Everybody was bitching about linebacker. We picked a receiver in the first round. We needed a receiver. Great. Everybody was bitching about linebacker and cornerback. And I agree. We need linebacker and cornerback. Cornerback, I think, more so than linebacker. And let me preface this statement by saying Landon Dickerson would not have been my pick in the second round. I would not have picked him. He was not my first choice. I wanted Asante Samuel Jr., who ended up being drafted by the Chargers. I know everybody else seemed to want JOK. I have no fucking idea who that is, again, because I don't watch football, college football. The only reason I knew who Asante Samuel Jr. was is because Eagles fans have been talking about him for the last couple of years. I wanted Asante Samuel Jr. However, I am perfectly okay with Landon Dickerson being drafted with the idea that he's going to replace Jason Kelce. And I'm also okay, even if he doesn't start, if he's sitting on the bench, taking a year, and learning from an all-pro center in Jason Kelce. So he's ready for next year. And if he starts at left guard and he excels at left guard, that's even better. It is so much easier, like indescribably easier to find good, mediocre to good especially, and sometimes even really good linebackers, free agency, homegrown, draft picks, even later round draft picks, free agency in particular, than it is to find a really good center. It is so hard to find a good center, like a good center. There's not that many teams in the NFL that I don't think have great centers. Philly's definitely one of them. I don't care that this is a depth pick, even if that's what it is. If he doesn't start this year, I don't care. If he does, great. If he doesn't, I don't care. Listen, for all of you, every player drafted in rounds 1 through 3, the idea is that they're supposed to be drafted as a starter. I would be willing to bet money that, maybe not a whole lot of money, because I have no idea what the fuck Jacksonville's going to do. But I'd be willing to bet that I would definitely be willing to bet money at least 3, probably 4 of the quarterbacks picked in the first round of the draft will not start day 1 this season. Zach Wilson will start day 1 because the Jets don't have an option. Trevor Lawrence, listen, Gardner Minshew is still there as a stopgap. They were talking on draft night. The commentators were talking. I don't know if it was Urban Meyer. I think it was discussing that he didn't like pitching young quarterbacks into the fire. He said he'd seen it happen and he'd seen it ruin quarterbacks by throwing them into the fire too early. Hearing that, it doesn't sound like they necessarily want to start Trevor Lawrence day 1 in Jacksonville. Now, Trevor Lawrence is a prodigy, and Gardner Minshew isn't great. I wouldn't be tremendously surprised to see Trevor Lawrence start day 1. But, at the moment, people in Jacksonville are saying, we don't feel comfortable starting a rookie quarterback day 1, chucking him into the fire, which is understandable. I'm not saying I would or wouldn't do it. I was glad to see Carson Wentz take the field when he did his rookie year. And I think for some rookies, it's the right time and it works. But for some rookies, it really doesn't work. I think Josh Rosen in Arizona, I think he was chucked into the fire a little too early. Now, that got elevated because of the injury to Sam Bradford. Surprise, surprise. And I also think maybe he partially didn't succeed because the coaching staff in Arizona sucked and the team really wasn't that good. And his offensive line was atrocious that year. But my point stands. Trey Lance will not start day 1 in San Francisco. He will play until either Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt again, or maybe halfway through the season they might decide to throw Trey Lance in. Mac Jones will not start day 1 for the Patriots. I fully expect Cam Newton to be the starter for at least half the season. Again, barring an injury or drastically terrible play. And Chicago, Justin Fields, he won't start day one. They have Andy Dalton. I think that's why they brought Andy Dalton in anyway. I think they were thinking draft, and they just brought Andy Dalton in as a stopgap. Hell, Justin Fields, he might not see the field this year unless Andy Dalton's terrible. That wouldn't surprise me at all. If Mac Jones doesn't see the field this year, that wouldn't surprise me at all either. But this is what I'm saying. So many teams draft depth, even in high rounds. And yeah, Trey Lance is obviously not what I would consider a depth pick. But the fact that people actually think every single person drafted, 96 guys, the day one starters, all of them. I'm sorry, maybe I'm being an ass, but I physically cannot put into words how stupid I think that is. I literally don't understand how people think that. Like I said, it is tough to find a good center. It is tough. Philly's been blessed the last number of years with Jason Kelce. And from what people are saying, if this kid can stay healthy, he has a chance to be a very, very good NFL center. And yes, as many people have pointed out to me, the key word there is if. The phrase there is if he stays healthy. But you know what? For something like this, I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to take that shot. Plus, he knows Jalen Hurts. He's got experience playing with Jalen Hurts. So I'm good with it on that angle too. But I mean, everybody's saying, oh, you drafted a guy to sit behind Kelce for a year. Yeah. This is the other thing I wanted to get to. I'm talking way too much about the second round pick. 17 minutes. Jesus. So Patrick Mahomes gets drafted, right? We all know what Patrick Mahomes is. He's a stud. I'm probably just going to cut this off after this, by the way. I'll probably talk about Dickerson. I may make another short video about the rest of the draft picks because there's not as much to say about them. Patrick Mahomes was brought into the league, and he didn't start day one. He sat behind Alex Smith for a while. He didn't start for a whole year. Now, Alex Smith was playing pretty well at that point. But can people not see how it would be helpful for guys to be drafted and then to be able to sit behind whoever's in front of them on the depth chart and learn? Especially when the person ahead of you on a depth chart is an all-pro, a la Jason Kelce. Hell, Aaron Rodgers did not start in Green Bay. Was it his third season or his fourth season? I think it might have been his third season. Because Brett Favre was still there. And Brett Favre was still playing fairly well. And many would argue, including Aaron, I think, maybe not Aaron, most guys would tell you, that sitting for a while, especially quarterbacks, but that's not really what we're talking about, sitting behind guys and learning NFL traits, NFL skills, NFL techniques from players ahead of them on the depth chart, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, Landon Dickerson and Jason Kelce. It helps. It helps to be able to have that knowledge before you get thrown into the fire. I don't understand why people are so pissed off at Howie Roseman. Actually, I'll just touch on the rest of the draft at this point, because I don't know anything about these guys. I think I've pretty much wrapped up what I think I have to say about the Landon Dickerson pick. Eagles Twitter is stupid. I'm so sorry, but Eagles Twitter is so stupid. Eagles Twitter doesn't have any foresight. Like, they're looking at this like it's a video game. Like, people don't understand the long-term benefits, potentially, of this Landon Dickerson pick. People are thinking he should be a day one starter. And who knows, he might be. But the people who say, oh, I can't believe we drafted Landon Dickerson just to be Kelsey's replacement. Bro, Kelsey's going to be gone in a year. I guarantee you this is going to be his last season. The draft rolls around next year. You might not have an opportunity to get a really good center, which it sounds like this kid could very well be if he stays healthy. People who are concerned about the injury history, that I understand. That is a legitimate concern. But to me, not liking the draft pick because he might not start day one, he might not start until next season, that's not a valid concern. In my eyes, that's not a valid concern. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. I think you're stupid. The rest of the draft picks, we didn't have a third-round pick. We traded to the Cowboys to move up to get DeVonta Smith. Still a great move by Howie. I will hear absolutely no arguments on that topic. None whatsoever. I will not have your Howie hatred on that particular move because it was genius. And it gave us what we wanted. We preserved a first-round pick for next year by moving back. And we basically got DeVonta Smith, the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver, for a third-round pick. Yeah, we traded with the Cowboys. Who the hell cares? Fourth round, Zach McPherson, cornerback, out of some school that I can't remember. Look, we need cornerbacks. Desperately. We need secondary help. Rodney McLeod's still great. Darius Slay's still great. But outside of that, we ain't got nothing. Jalen Mills is gone. That kid, Michael Jacquet, last year, oh boy, that was not a pretty sight. I don't hate Avonte Maddox, but I don't particularly like him either. So we needed corners. Now, some will argue that the fourth round was too late, and maybe it was. But you know what? We'll have to see. And cornerbacks are something that we can also find in free agency, even next year. You know what? Because I don't think Philly's going to be very good this year anyway. So that's the other reason I'm not terribly mad at this. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl team this year. Are we going to be weak in the secondary? Probably, but I expect that. Post that, what was the D lineman kid, Williams? That was our other second round pick, right? Or was that third round? Was that third round? Did we have a third round pick? I think I might have been messing this up. I think we had a third round pick, and it was the defensive tackle. Williams, right? I don't hate the pick. I'm not necessarily saying we needed defensive line help, but you know what? I don't hate it. Howie's a trenches guy, man. Offensive line, defensive line. And he had that quote the other day where he said, look, this is how we won our games. This is how we won our Super Bowl, in the trenches. He's right. You might not like it, but he's right. Howie's a build up the trenches guy, and you know what? I gotta respect it. Fletcher Cox is getting old. Brandon Graham ain't getting any younger. So, you know, will this kid start? Probably not. Will this kid be part of the rotation? Probably. You know, it is what it is. Fifth round, I think, was that running back kid. Gainwell, right? Kenneth Gainwell. Eagles fans seem to like him. Scouts and commentators seem to like him. So, you know what? That holds some confidence. Now, I saw some people bitching we don't need running backs, which is partially true, but Jordan Howard just doesn't seem to be quite what he used to be in Chicago. I don't know why, but he doesn't seem to be quite what he used to be. And Boston Scott, you know what? He has his ups and downs. I kind of like him, but he disappears sometimes. So who knows? Maybe this Gainwell kid could be super good. If we had a sixth-round pick, I can't really remember it. I know we picked up we picked up a linebacker in the seventh round, but I think he was like a hybrid DE linebacker. You know, once you get to the seventh round pick, it's hard to complain about things, I think. I think it's difficult to complain about things once you get that low into the draft, but some people will find a way to because they hate Howie Roseman for some ungodly reason. Look, why back? But here's the thing. So we got Eric Wilson. We've still got Alex Singleton, who was a freaking beast last year. And you know what? TJ Edwards, is he the best linebacker in the world? No. But he's serviceable. So, I'm still kind of okay with that. Am I particularly excited about our linebacking core? Not wildly. I wouldn't say wildly, but I'm not necessarily afraid of it either. I'm backing in my driveway at the moment, so yeah, I don't know. People want to bitch at Howie. I don't. I'm kind of back aboard the Howie train. I never really jumped off it. You guys know that. You guys used to yell at me for that. I was never necessarily on board with firing Howie. I don't necessarily dislike what he did. So hold on. I'm going to pause this real quick. I'll be right back.